This weekend, in glorious sunshine, the MSA British Rallycross Championship visits Croft, its first of 2 visits, and an action-packed day ahead. Last time, on a rather wet, soggy and slippery Lyddon circuit, it was Mark Higgins versus Liam Duran for the lead of the supercar final. Higgins, in his first year in Rallycross, had the advantage. Duran fought back. Eventually contact made, off was Duran, and a win for Higgins. With Julian Godfrey winning at Silverstone, he leads the championship by 4 points from Mark Higgins, Steve Hill third, and former champ Ollie O'Donovan in fourth. Croft is a great place for Rallycross. It's a spectacular circuit, it's a fast circuit with this mix of the loose and the tarmac. There's no joker lap though, so getting off the line and gaining track position is all important. Let's have a look at the circuit. On board with Ollie O'Donovan. A long, fast but narrow start straight. You blast away, you go up through the gears and then turn right into Clairvaux corner. Use all the runoff on the outside, use the curb on the inside. Hawthorne is a long, long, long right that takes you towards the chicane and takes you to the loose, coming out of this left-hander down a gear, and then you hit the loose surface. On the power, up through the gears. The road starts to go right. It's hard to control it here because you've got all that speed into the hairpin, hard on the brakes. There's tarmac for a little bit more traction, but you slide out wide, step down onto the loose, and then up to complete a flying lap. It's a fast and spectacular venue for Rallycross.
Julian Godfrey, you come here leading the MSA British Rallycross Championship, third event in the Mitsubishi. How are you finding the new car this season?
It's getting better and better. We're doing little bit adjustments after each round, trying to improve it, and went out and practiced this morning. It feels better from the change we've done on the front suspension last week. So yeah, so now hopefully it's going to be really good.
Andy Scott, you've been present for the first 2 British Rallycross Championship rounds this year, but unfortunately not driven yet. Hopefully that's going to change for you today.
Yeah, well, I've done obviously already 3 more laps than we've done at the previous 2 races. Really happy to be in the car. Car's working really well. According to my team, I just set the fastest lap, so that's obviously a good start to being back in the car.
Mark, the 3rd round of the British Championship, glorious sunshine today. You'll be hoping for a change of luck. The first 2 rounds didn't go particularly well for you.
Well, we showed some pace in Lyddon last time, but we just keep getting niggled with little problems. We seem to have cured everything we think. We came this morning with nothing to do, which is very unusual for our team because we're running around like headless chickens in the morning. But no, we went out and practiced there and we have no problems at all. It's a warm day at Croft and hopefully lots of spectators, and we want to do well for home fans and sponsors who come to see us.
We are ready for Q1. The grid is formed. Andy Scott on pole, a gap where Steve Mundy's new Fiesta should have been. Steve Hill alongside, and he makes a dreadful start. Everybody else blasts away. On board with Mark Higgins, Julian Godfrey to the right and ahead. The championship leader Godfrey, they're 3 wide down to turn 1 at Clairvaux. Andy Scott leads. Andy Scott goes wide, goes off, goes back on, and somehow keeps the race lead. Fantastic recovery. Through Hawthorne then for the first time into the chicane, bit of leaning going on. Ollie O'Donovan is a man on a mission. The Irishman elbows his way up past Lyddon winner Mark Higgins and the former British Rally champion, accelerating now across the loose for the first time. Not that many supercars have made the trek north this weekend, sadly, and Higgins is way out wide in the Albertech Racing Run Peugeot as Le Patron, the team owner Andy Scott, leads at the end of the opening lap of the race. It's Julian Godfrey going with him, remember, in this new to him for this year Mitsubishi Mirage, forsaking the Ford Fiesta, and Andy Scott has the advantage for the moment, using the curve out of Clairvaux up towards Hawthorne now. He's starting to stretch the advantage, first time we've seen Andy in the British Championship for quite some time. And Albertech looking to storm Silverstone at the end of the month with the World Championship and the American Championship coming to town. And cars entered in each category. Andy Scott then here getting himself race ready. He leads the way down towards the end of the lap through Chequers Corner. You've got in 2nd place Julian Godfrey in the Dust Storm, 3rd Ollie O'Donovan, and Mark Higgins 4th, underlining with the absence of a joker lap how important it is to get off the line well, because it's hard to overtake round here, believe it or not, in Rallycross. You've got to try and force a mistake out of the guy ahead of you. O'Donovan through Clairvaux, and a big slide by Mark Higgins behind him. All the years of stunt driving in movies put to good effect here. Car control absolutely beyond peer. Through the chicane goes Higgins, but actually he's dropping back a little bit from O'Donovan. O'Donovan is speeding up and closing, and there is Steve Mundy, who has got into the race. He was missing from his front row start, but he has got going. Steve Hill, in the meantime, after his dreadful getaway, is attacking Mad Mark, the local hero, the hotelier from just up the road at Castle Barnard, and the ever so distinctive pink Citroen, fending off the Mitsubishi Evo for the moment. But Steve Hill is recovering well here. Mad Mark has won many a race around this circuit, as for the last time. Andy Scott leads Godfrey, leads O'Donovan, leads Higgins. Through they turn, out of Hawthorne. Ollie O'Donovan is on the power, but is he going to get close enough to challenge Julian Godfrey for that second place? I'm not convinced he will. They bounce their way across the loose. It's a very dusty day because it's very hot, thankfully for a change, here at Croft. And that means that the drivers and the fans have got the dust to cope with. Down they come then, in towards the hairpin, up to the checkered flag. It's going to be a race win for Andy Scott. And he will, of course, therefore top the times at the end of Q1. Second on the road goes the way of Julian Godfrey from Ollie O'Donovan in third. So Andy Scott fastest ahead of Godfrey, O'Donovan, Mark Higgins fourth, then Steve Hill fifth from Mad Mark, and the late arrival, Steve Mundy.
Ollie, you had a solid result last time out at Linden Hill, third overall, another third place here in Q1, going quite well.
Yeah, we were good. We made a good start. We were in the back of the grid in Q1, and I think Andy may have missed the gear, may have caused a bit of a bunch in the pack. Yeah, we were third. We were happy with a little bit of a robot mark in the long corner, but I had solidly had the inside line. I wasn't going to give that up too easy. But
Q2 set to go. Andy Scott, the man on pole position. Teammate Mark Higgins missing from the grid though as we go racing. Great start by Scott. Julian Godfrey tries to line up on the outside line and make a move down towards Clairvaux. O'Donovan gets into the back of Godfrey. That's going to push him wide. Great recovery by Julian Godfrey. Then he hit the brakes, got the car slowed down and turned in and kept second place. Steve Hill, there he is, running in fourth spot, coming up towards the chicane. Whoops, that is Godfrey losing it, and bang, into the side of him goes O'Donovan. I say Godfrey lost it. He may have had a bit of help in all of that. We might get a replay in a minute to piece it all together as Steve Hill hits the loose. Andy Scott is away and gone. He's almost in Q3. So far ahead is he? Steve Hill down through Checkers Corner, up towards the end of the lap. But is the road clear? If not, we're going to have a rerun. Through comes Andy Scott. Red flag flies. The clerk of the course, Steve Hill, unrelated, of course, to rallycross driver Steve Hill, calls for a red flag. Everybody slows, and we will go again in Q2. Now here's the replay. Remember, they've already made contact at Clairvaux into Hawthorne. Godfrey goes a little bit wider than does O'Donovan, who tries to get up alongside. He's not fully alongside. He clips the Mitsubishi. Round goes Godfrey, and then O'Donovan's got nowhere to go. The rerun of Q2. It's a smaller field this time, and it should all be about Andy Scott. Once again, he converts pole into the lead. O'Donovan and Hill are the opposition as they dive down towards turn one. Mark Higgins is missing. Mad Mark is missing. Steve Mundy is missing. And Julian Godfrey not taking part in this rerun because of the damage sustained in that incident. You saw the suspension break after the T-bone from O'Donovan. So Andy Scott won the first race for the supercars. He leads the second. Coming across the loose then, dust kicked into his face as they bounce their way up towards Checkers, through this fast right, then into the hairpin. Andy Scott trying to get away. Ollie O'Donovan trying to ensure he does not get away. And Steve Hill in this increasingly competitive Mitsubishi running in third, but he's the one now choking in the dust. Over the line they come. Scott leading the way. This is his view. Uses the curve into Hawthorne. Power on, that carries him to the outside line, tucks it back in for the apex coming into the chicane. Ollie O'Donovan, former British champion, is not dropping away though, is he? He's there in second place and doing his best in the slightly battle-scarred Ford Focus to chase after the race leader. Into the hairpin, hit the tarmac. That gives you that little bit more traction, but it's quite slippy today with all the dust that's been brought onto it. Back onto the power, across the line. Andy Scott, who was a real star in RX 150s in the category's early days. And look at the dust thrown into the face of Ollie O'Donovan, who dives down towards Clairvaux in second place. Scott, no such problems. Clear road ahead of him. through Hawthorn. On the power once again. They turn now up towards the chicane. Ollie O'Donovan in the Tony Bardi prepared Ford Focus hits the loose, but Andy Scott, the Albatech Racing boss, is doing a great job. He leads, he turns his way up towards Checkers, and Andy Scott's view as he slows the car right down, takes the tight line, uses that new curve on the inside, put in a couple of years back, sprints out of the corner, checkered flag is ready for him, and so Andy Scott is going to make it 2 from 2 today in the heat. He comes through to win Q2. Second will be Ollie O'Donovan, Steve Hill for third. So at the end of Q2, only the 3 survivors, Andy Scott, Ollie O'Donovan and Steve Hill, with a lot of the others with a fair amount of repair work to do for Q3.
Andy, your first appearance of the season in any rallycross competition, and you're going pretty well today, fastest in Q1 and Q2.
Yeah, no, so far it's going very well. Still having a little bit of job getting off the line, but luckily, we have the pace on the rest of the track, so we've managed to pull the wins together. Just hope we can get the start set up right for the third heat, because obviously competition's starting to increase.
Steve Hill, you come to Croft third in the MSA British Rallycross Championship standings. You've had a couple of solid times in the first 2 qualifiers. How's today going so far?
Okay, we've had a bit of a problem with just for the new Warren loom. There's all sorts of small issues with it that we need to correct. I've got no digital readouts or anything, so what I can hear is what I'm driving to, and it's working okay so far.
Mark, you're full of optimism this morning at your home circuit. Retired before you'd even started Q2 on the pre-grid. What's happened?
Yeah, well, it was going really, really well in Q1, and for 3 laps, fantastic. And then for all of a sudden, it got very, very hot, the car, and it just put itself into limp mode, and hence Steve came round me. When we've got it back in, with the head gaskets gone and pressurised the system and chucked the fluid out of the engine. But on the bright side, there's only living so close to Croft, we've nipped home and got a spare gasket, but it wasn't quite right. But we think we've cured the problem, and we're putting it back together, and we'll see how we do in Q3.
Here at Croft for the Toyo Tyres MSA British Rallycross Championship, we are ready for Q3. Andy Scott lines up on pole position, Ollie O'Donovan with him in the middle of row 1, Steve Hill on the outside, Julian Godfrey and Mark Higgins on the next row, and then Mad Mark and Steve Manley should be on the third as we get set to go racing. Mad Mark, I fear, is missing as the drivers look towards the lights. We wait for them to blink to green, which they do. Great start by Higgins from the second row of the grid. On board with him now as he charges his way down towards the first corner. Steve Mundy very sluggish off the line indeed. Problems persist in the new Fiesta. O'Donovan, though, leads the pack as they work their way up towards Hawthorn for the first time. So Andy Scott, for the first time all day, looking vulnerable. He's down in third place ahead of Julian Godfrey. And now it's O'Donovan versus Higgins. Higgins won at Lyddon, and O'Donovan leads the pack, but only just for the moment. Mark Higgins, remember, is in his first full season of Rallycross. He's looking to do the World Championship round at Silverstone, and that's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on. Hard on the brakes, hit the tarmac once more. Out of the hairpin, up through the gears. Now, can Higgins find a way through? He missed Q2 because of turbo boost problems. The car looked here to be going as strongly as ever. Down towards Clairvaux. O'Donovan, though, is stretching the advantage. Higgins flicks it sideways, so does Andy Scott behind him. 2 Peugeot 208s then running strongly in this race here. Aboard once more. Andy Scott, you're riding with in third place. He sees Higgins go a little bit wide ahead of him. Mark Higgins recovers from that, but he will have lost a fraction of time to O'Donovan, who is looking mighty strong up front in this race at the moment. To the hairpin they come. There's that little strip of tarmac, and wide goes Scott, and so Julian Godfrey in the very stubby Mitsubishi tries to get up the inside, can't do it, and the leader Ollie O'Donovan powers over the timing line now. There is Steve Mundy. He has got going this very much a test session for the Ford Fiesta driver, but it's good to have new supercars coming into the championship round on round. We've lost many of the southern-based contingent, like the Harris family, like the Durans, for example, for this weekend, which is a great shame. But it's good to have Steve Mundy on the grid as well. Andy Grant not here as well, disappointingly. But we do get Andy Scott, and his teammate Mark Higgins, you're riding with him, is in second place, doing his level best to go after the Focus ahead, Ollie O'Donovan at the wheel of it. The gap comes down again into the hairpin, but unless O'Donovan makes a mistake, he's going to be very hard to dislodge from the race lead. Up to the timing line they come. Onto the last lap now. Scott goes through third, Godfrey fourth. Andy Scott might be a bit race rusty, but he was certainly mighty impressive in Q1 and Q2. There is Mark Higgins really enjoying Rallycross. And this part of a long-term plan to go into the World Championship full-time. Wide goes Scott into the chicane. There is Steve Hill, who's fallen quite a long way back, so clearly all is not well once more with the Mitsubishi. Nose to tail for third place. Andy Scott feeling the pressure now as they dance across the loose on the back part of the circuit. Side by side for the race lead, oh so nearly. Mark Higgins making a move, but he just runs out of real estate. Down to the hairpin. O'Donovan a little bit bogged down out of the corner, but he's going to win nonetheless. Ollie O'Donovan takes the checkered flag to win from Mark Higgins. Third, Andy Scott, and fourth goes the way of Julian Godfrey. And Steve Mundy will bring home the Fiesta. Another useful test run. There's still a lot of development to do on this car. And Steve Hill's Mitsubishi hobbled as well. Disappointing result for the rally driver turned rally crosser. He makes his way to the line, and there Steve Mundy powering his way up towards the checkered flag as well. So Q3 is conquered by Ollie O'Donovan. Mark Higgins second, Andy Scott third. Then Julian Godfrey fourth, ahead of Steve Hill and Steve Mundy, with Mad Mark not making it to the line. The classification after the 3 qualifying races, Andy Scott ahead of Ollie O'Donovan and Steve Hill. No semi-finals here today, so this sorts out the order for the final.
Mark, you missed Q2, but solid time in Q3. What happened in Q2?
Yeah, we've been chasing a bit of a problem from the start, the very first practice, just with boost. We thought we got it sorted out, we just ran out of time for Q2. So a bit unfortunate, but Q3 went better, and we've got to make the best of it today and hopefully be somewhere near on the final for a position to start, and then do the best we can. But it's all about the start here, depending on what you do into the first corner. And unfortunately, with no joker lap, you just got to follow.
Julian, the boys worked hard, got the car fixed, and a solid time for you in Q3.
Yeah, full place. So good points to get into the position in the final. Largely got a bit better start, but I was a little bit asleep on the lights, so I didn't make the best of starts. But hopefully I can make a better start in the final and be up in the front.
As ever, some spectacular racing has been on show all day long from the Super 1600 and Super National Brigade. Tristan Ovenden, fastest across all 3 qualifying heats. Guy Corner second, Paul Coney third as we get set for the semi-finals. With work to do, Mike Boak and Phil Chicken. Semi-final 1 underway. Good start by Tristan Ovenden. Paul Coney goes with it on the run off the line, but look at the V6 Clio. All that grunt and go, and it storms clear. Jack Thorne, one to watch. Silverstone winner up the inside of Paul Coney. The 2 Super 1600 cars together as they accelerate now up through Clairvaux on towards Hawthorne. Remember, the Clio in the lead, a different spec of car, and Tristan Ovenden is using that to his advantage. Mike Boak, who knows this place like the back of his hand from rallycross and single venue rallies, he's at the back of the pack as the cars hit the loose then. Jack Thorne, who a couple of seasons ago was briefly in a supercar, was rather overshadowed by Dan Rook, and also rather overshadowed by the fact he didn't have the budget for the season. But here he's come back very successfully into Super 1600s, and he's fending off Craig Lomax as they come to the hairpin. Look how close they are. Lomax up the inside, elbows out, and he goes through. You can overtake then, you see around here, and he does so. Brave, bold effort, squeezing up the inside, and so as Tristan Ovenden gets away, the Super 1600s running as one. Paul Coney ahead then, Craig Lomax going after him as the cars turn up towards Hawthorne this time. Jack Thorne might have a problem because he's dropping away and into the clutches of Mike Boak now, and he pulls off to the side, so yes, Jack Thorne has got a problem. The car was starting to lose pace, and now he's going to park it, and that's the day done. Paul Coney, Mr. Super 1600 really, hugely experienced and vastly successful as well, comes down through checkers. There's Mike Boak bouncing along behind. His target though is going to be Craig Lomax. So Boak benefiting from the dramas of Jack Thorne, and up towards the timing line they come here. Tristan Ovenden, you can hear in the background the V6 Clio wailing away. There's going to be no stopping him now. Paul Coney fending off a hard-charging Craig Lomax. Now, is that gap going to come down sufficiently to enable a challenge to be made? In the meantime, here's a masterclass in how to drive a Super National Rallycross car from Tristan Avendon. He's ahead as the battle is on for second and the best of the Super 1600s, because it's Coney just ahead of Lomax here. Mike Boat behind, waiting for it to end in tears perhaps and pick up the pieces. Race preparation expert Mike Boat down towards the hairpin here. Paul Coney hooks a wheel the other side of the curbs, trying to shorten the track as much as he can, legitimately of course. Onto the last lap they go, and Paul Coney doing enough to stay ahead, it seems. Through goes Tristan Avendon, and down now through the dust into Clairvaux. Coney getting away ever so slightly from Craig Lomax behind him. They turn their way through once again here. Out of the chicane, onto the loose. Tristan Avendon absolutely dominant. It's going to be fascinating though to see whether he can maintain this pace and performance when we get to the final. Through the hairpin he comes. Suspension travels its way over the curb on the inside. Coney ahead of Lomax, ahead of Boat. There's been no change in the order in Super 1600. That's how they're going to finish, as Tristan Avendon wins the first semi-final for the Super Nationals and Super 1600s in style. It's a win for the big Clio ahead of the little Corsa, because Tristan Avendon wins from Paul Coney, Craig Lomax third ahead of Mike Boat, Jack Thorne a retirement, Slavomir Bollock a non-starter. Semi-final 2 for the Super Nationals set to get underway. Guy Corner is the man on pole, Darren Scott and Paige Bellamy alongside, and Phil Chicken, I'm afraid, goes nowhere. He was the man at the back of the grid. The cars accelerate down towards Clairvaux. It was Bellamy ahead, but Guy Corner lunges up the inside and the Peugeot goes through. That was really brave stuff. Guy Corner it is in the lead. Gary Simpson in the BMW third ahead of Darren Scott then. This race, the way it's all panned out, has got more of the Super National spec cars in it. And two of them, first and second. Guy Corner, local, versus Paige Bellamy, local. Across the loose they come, through checkers. There is Gary Simpson in the BMW. And Darren Scott with his Super 1600 spec Citroën turning his way now out of the hairpin. He's looking for a way past the fishtailing 3 Series ahead of him. The 325i E30 shape of Gary Simpson onto the tarmac. And that has been, over the seasons, a very quick car indeed. Always goes well around here. Behind it, the yellow Vauxhall Nova is Darren Grimston. He's another Croft stalwart, be it single venue rallies or rallycross. Doesn't travel that much, but really is, as I say, a great supporter of the action up here. Back onto the loose comes Simpson, but he's under attack, look. Darren Scott now lining up to try and make a move against him. Down they come through checkers, into the hairpin. Hard on the brakes, turn right. That little strip of tarmac, an understeering BMW leaves the door open. Darren Scott gets up alongside. Has he got the drive out of the corner? Yes, he has. He's going to level with the BMW. He's on the outside line as they start the last lap, but the BM's got more power, and so Gary Simpson goes back through. Guy Corner, however, is looking very strong indeed up front. Paige Bellamy dropping away in second spot. Still in the Vauxhall BX 220, which he started the season with. Paige Bellamy goes to the chicane. Bits of bodywork missing from the rear of the car. Gary Simpson is still keeping at bay Darren Scott. And the top 4, remember, go through. So it's looking good for Darren Scott. He's on the bubble, admittedly, but there's nobody close enough behind to really be a threat. Paige Bellamy blasts across the loose. Guy Corner, though, looking good for a race win here. Through the hairpin he turns, up to the checkered flag, and Guy Corner is going to win the second semi-final for the Super Nationals and Super 1600s, and by quite some margin. Paige Bellamy comes home for second, and Gary Simpson and Darren Scott are going to be the other qualifiers as they come over the timing line now, third and fourth. The results of semi-final 2 confirm the win for Guy Corner, Paige Bellamy second, and then Gary Simpson third. It's Darren Scott fourth, so Darren Grimston and Phil Chicken miss out. Croft is the venue this weekend for the Toyo Tyres MSA British Rallycross Championship, and there's been plenty of great racing from the juniors. In the MSA Junior Rallycross Championship, Luke Constantine heads the classification after the 3 qualifying races. It is Luke Constantine on pole position for the final. Brother Tom alongside, cousin James on the outside of row 1 ahead of Ben Sayer and Morgan Root. And then it's Patrick O'Donovan, Christiana Hav-Enger and Matilda Proctor at the back of the grid. The lights go green and we go racing. James Constantine makes a good start. Tom bogs down a little bit. The man who won at Lyddon is out-dragged in the red and black car, and so Luke Constantine, his younger brother, is on the inside, but now Tom fights back and gets the drop on the pair of them through the middle and takes the race lead. Cousin James goes out wide over the curb. Luke battles back on the inside line. And now the cars accelerate up towards the chicane for the first time. Ben Sayer there in 4th, just ahead of Morgan Root in the orange and black car. Morgan Root tries to get up on the inside. Ben Sayer, former karter and motocrosser, he comes onto the loose. Now this section has been watered a little bit to try and keep down the dust, and you can see now it's a bit more slippery. The wipers are on, in fact, and there the Constantines, Luke and James, lean on each other. James goes through, James goes off with loads of understeer, and Ben Sayer dives up the inside as well, goes through, gains another place. Ben Sayer looking much more competitive here than he did at Silverstone at the start of the season. He is coming on a pace, you've got to say. The progress, very impressive indeed in his rookie season in the sport. Guided by the 2014 Junior champion Charlie Bean, so that experience being put to good use by Ben Sayer, who is coming under attack because there, look, James Constantine is right up behind him, make that alongside him in fact as they turn their way through the right at Hawthorne. Diving their way into the chicane once more. Through they turn, and now onto the loose section of circuit, side by side. Up front, Tom Constantine, the man that won at Lyddon, looking as though he could be on for a second successive victory here. And wide again goes James Constantine, down to the hairpin. To the inside goes Ben Sayer, and he's back up into 3rd place. Morgan Root still running behind them, the former kart racer. Morgan Root 4th in the championship last season, but not going quite so well here as you might have anticipated. Sayer back to the tarmac and back down towards Clairvaux. Going nicely here, but up front it is Tom and his younger brother Luke Constantine leading the way. Wide goes their cousin James Constantine to try and get out of Clairvaux with all the momentum to attack at Hawthorne. Runs out of road on the outside, and so Ben Sayer will hang on to the place, will he? Yes, just going into the chicane ahead. They run nose to tail as lower down the order. Christiana Hav-Enger goes into the chicane, new to the championship, new to the circuit as well. Matilda Proctor also hard at work in this race. Dad Kevin not racing, sadly, in the supercars this weekend. Big blow. Down towards the hairpin comes Ben Sayer, looking for his maiden podium of the season. And this is great news for him because he's also closing up a little bit onto the top 2, which shows the pace is good. The leaders go through. Up front, Tom Constantine is getting away, but it's game on for 2nd and 3rd and 4th here as they come down through Clairvaux once again. Squeal of tyres, and it's once more that really brave, momentum-filled run round Clairvaux from James Constantine that brings him alongside Ben Sayer into the chicane. He goes round the outside, there's contact, the tyre stack is demolished. Round goes Constantine, Ben Sayer survives. And now the race officials might want to have a look at that and see if anybody was at fault or whether it was just one of those things. Certainly James Constantine tried to go round the outside and then cut across the front, and I don't think he was far enough ahead to make that move really stick. The net result, though, is that he comes off worse. Tom Constantine it is then, looking good for the moment, and he leads the way, looking for a 2nd victory of the season. 2nd should go the way of Luke, his younger brother, and then Ben Sayer from the 2nd row of the grid now up into 3rd place. So Tom Constantine turning his way around the long right-hander of Hawthorne, and he's on the power now. Through the chicane they will flick and past, in so doing, the stricken car of James Constantine, and because that is still there, so a red flag comes out to halt proceedings. Red flag, race stop. The race, though, not restarted. They've done 5 laps, and so a win confirmed for Tom Constantine. Luke Constantine 2nd, and Ben Sayer maintaining 3rd from Morgan Root, and then Patrick O'Donovan in 5th. It means that Tom Constantine heads the title race from Luke Marius Solberg Hansen is third from James Constantine, Morgan Root and Ben Sayer sixth.
Tom, your home circuit, you've won here before, but a fantastic result for you in a really competitive field.
Yeah, it was really competitive today. Had a lot of competition, mostly from the family and my brother and cousin. I couldn't beat them in the heats. I was playing second fiddle all day, but got a pretty good start and managed to outbreak them around Clervaux and just sort of held on from there.
Luke, the first time you've raced at your home circuit and a great battle with your brother for victory. Happy with second place?
Yeah, it was a good day. Did well in the heats. It was a hard day though. Won all of the heats, but then in the final just missed a gear going down to the first corner and Tom got in front. He just held it the whole way around, so well done to Tom.
Ben, your third ever rallycross event at your home circuit. Fantastic to finish on the podium.
Yeah, it was good. Bit tough and rough, but worked out all right.
And a really close race with James in the final.
Yeah, close. Bit rough on that top corner, but it was all right.
The grid is formed for the MSA Super National and Super 1600 Rallycross final here at Croft. Tristan Ovenden, Guy Corner, Paul Coney, row 1. Paige Bellamy and Craig Lomax on row 2. Then it's Gary Simpson, Darren Scott and Mike Boat as we are good to go racing. Ovenden won at Lyddon, the lights go to green and he launches himself off the line, but a great start made by Paul Coney as well, on board with Craig Lomax. Up through the gears, losing pace in a straight line though. Smaller engine car giving away a fair few horses to the Super Nationals. Guy Corner diving up the inside to go ahead of Paige Bellamy. Gary Simpson arrives on the scene in fourth, so I think you might end up now with two distinct races really. The Super Nationals ahead and then the Super 1600s all squabbling behind. On board with Lomax, that's Paul Coney ahead and that's the man he's got to beat. That is his class rival in Super 1600. Coney, however, has got designs on getting past Gary Simpson as they come across the loose here. Coney under attack, down to the hairpin. Right there on his tail, look, it is 24 Craig Lomax. There's no Silverstone winner Jack Thorne in the final this weekend because he dropped out in the semis. A sideways Gary Simpson powers his way through. Paige Bellamy though getting away up front. It's Bellamy running third, it's Guy Corner second and Tristan Ovenden is away and gone for the race lead. Gary Simpson busy defending and losing touch with the Vauxhall ahead as the cars now hit the loose. So Tristan Ovenden it is, looking for a second outright win of the season. He comes across the loose surface with Guy Corner, the man from Northallerton, chasing after him. Home circuit this for Guy Corner, so he is determined to do well if he can. Gary Simpson still hard at work as well, trying to defend the ex-armed forces man, where he was based in Germany. Used to compete out there, in fact, and he understeers and oversteers his way down to the hairpin. He's under attack. And where's the time gone for Ovenden? Because the local farmer, Guy Corner, is right up alongside him. Side by side, they go past the pits. Down to Clervaux, it's Ovenden just ahead, but Guy Corner out of nowhere has managed to claw back the lost time and he's right there on his tail. Renault versus Peugeot. The Clio just ahead of the 206 then. Into the chicane they come. It must have been a mistake from Ovenden because now he's regrouped. He's got the pace to pull away once again, look. The battles are still raging on behind. Paul Coney, though, has got past Gary Simpson, and having done so, he's getting away. Craig Lomax also has got through, and that's Coney! Paul Coney has got a problem. He's got broken front left suspension. Very, very rarely do you use the phrase Paul Coney is out of the race, but it's happened today at Croft. High drama, the car peels to one side, and that is Paul Coney done. Darren Scott now comes up to challenge Gary Simpson. There's Mike Boak on his tail. The two Super 1600s challenge the BMW here. Across the loose they go, and now down towards Clervaux. Simpson with the power, able to fend them off. Boak almost into the back of the BMW here. Boak in turn has got himself up past Darren Scott. Tristan Ovenden has been able to recover. Guy Corner pressing on spectacularly in second place, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get close enough to make a move. Through they come, out of the hairpin, up towards the timing line. Tristan Ovenden it is, breaking clear. They start the last lap. Can Guy Corner fight back now? Let's see. Last lap board is there as Paige Bellamy goes through. But Tristan Ovenden, the reigning champion in Super National Rallycross, looking to try and add not only another race win, but another title come season's end to his impressive CV. He's 1.4 seconds up on Guy Corner as they turn now out of the chicane and onto the loose. Way wide there runs the Peugeot. Darren Scott still hard at work on the tail of Mike Boak, who is stuck on the back of the BMW of Gary Simpson as an understeering Guy Corner carries a lot of speed to the hairpin, but it washes out wide, and so Tristan Overton will come through to win. He blasts his way over the timing line. Second goes to Guy Corner, and a very competitive Guy Corner as well, which is really heartening to see. Paige Bellaby in third place, and then it's going to be Gary Simpson here fishtailing his way up towards the line, fending off Darren Scott and Mike Boak, but Craig Lomax already ahead. Tristan Overton it is then who wins outright. Guy Corner second, Paige Bellaby third. Craig Lomax fourth to win in Super 1600. Then comes Gary Simpson, Darren Scott and Mike Boat, with Paul Coney the one retirement. Tristan Overton leading by 5 points. Paige Bellaby is up to second now in the championship ahead of Craig Lomax. Lomax now leading in Super 1600 from Coney and Scott.
A small mistake early in the race and it got a bit close with Guy.
Yes, it really did. And he's actually, in the heats, he was very close to me as well. I knew he'd be a threat. Yeah, and then trying to stay tight and cover the line, I got a bit too tight and caught the tyres.
Well, there's once where he lost it on the hairpin up the top, and I thought, I've got it here, got it in the bag. We had a bit of a tussle and he come out the first, so yeah, it was. I was thinking I've got him here, but I thought there's no point. Not knocking us both out anyway, so.
It's been an up and down day, to be honest. We struggled at the beginning with the setup on the loose. We were struggling, it was really bumpy, and so we altered the suspension and we seemed to get a lot better travel. So still the VX and still a new car to me. Hopefully at Pembury I'll be back out in the Lotus.
Highest place of the lower capacity cars in the Super National final, a solid result for you.
Yeah, pretty solid result today. Obviously we've gone away from championship today with 10 points in lead. A little bit of contact through heats, but final prove the point that we've got the pace to be a front runner this year in Super 1600.
The Toyo Tyres MSA British Rallycross Championship is ready for the Supercar final here at Croft in glorious sunshine, and Andy Scott lines up on pole position alongside former champion Ollie O'Donovan, Steve Hill for company. Julian Godfrey, multiple champion, and newcomer Mark Higgins on row 2 ahead of Steve Mundy and Mad Mark, the local hero, on row 3. 6 laps ahead of us, the grid is formed. Who is going to triumph here? Drivers look towards the lights, which in a moment will blink green to unleash the cars. Now, great start made by Ollie O'Donovan. He's going to just nose through into the lead of the race. Steve Hill has made a great start as well. The Mitsubishi ahead on the outside. He's going to run out of road, though, I fear. There's a really sideways Higgins who goes wide into the dirt. And actually, Steve Hill comes out of the gravel ahead. Steve Hill on the outside line just has the advantage. Ollie O'Donovan tries to force up the inside of him. They go through the chicane, and it will be O'Donovan who leads the way. He had one win last year, that was at Lyddon, and he looks to lead at Croft. Up into second place goes Andy Scott, and Steve Hill drops back into third. Julian Godfrey behind him, then Mark Higgins comes up round the outside. Godfrey was effectively the winner at Silverstone because he was the best place of those registered for points, even though it was Sebastian Loeb who was the on-the-road race winner. And Mark Higgins, remember, won at Lyddon last time out. On board with Steve Hill, just dropping away slightly as they come across the loose onto the tarmac once more. Turning their way now out of Fairbow. There is Mark Higgins, the Manxman hustling on. Julian Godfrey clear of Mad Mark at the moment. Mad Mark Watson behind him as you go on board with Godfrey, peering through the screen, getting ever more splattered. But Julian Godfrey, a vastly experienced rallycrosser. Steve Hill slows, look round the outside of him, goes Higgins. Whoa, big contact and a huge off. That is Julian Godfrey. A mighty impact straight away. The red flag flies and Mad Mark sees it all happening and turns the car around to go and assist, which is great to see. Julian Godfrey then launched into a huge roll. That's Steve Hill running across to his aid to try and get the door open, and the race is stopped. Here's the replay. Steve Hill seems to be slowing, look, and almost like he's pulling off the road. Julian Godfrey tries to go round the outside, the two touch, and that just acts as a ramp. Godfrey goes over and over. There's flame from the engine bay as well as that erupts, and a very broken Mitsubishi. On board, from Steve Hill's point of view, he's got a problem. He's slowing, look, and he's more interested in pulling off, I think. and suddenly, bang, out of nowhere, completely unsighted, I think, from Steve's point of view, Julian Godfrey arrives. And from another angle, Steve Hill loses pace, so Mark Higgins goes round the outside. Julian Godfrey seizes his opportunity, and then suddenly there's contact, and he just is a passenger over and over. Look at the flame. Massive impact. And Julian Godfrey, suspended in the belts, is okay.
Seen a bit of stars, but I'm okay.
Steve Hill's broken car. Punctured tyre damage on the front left, but the main concern is Julian Godfrey, who is out of the car to a great reception from the fans. So, red flag, a restart. There aren't going to be many takers for it, I fear, and Julian Godfrey's car certainly is not going to be on the track, nor will Steve Hill be. Andy Scott making his way up to the grid. He's arrived a bit late. Is he going to have to start at the back? Let's see. Ollie O'Donovan is the only man there on the front. Mark Higgins is the only man there on row 2. And then it's Steve Mundy and Mad Mark on the 3rd row. And Andy Scott will start at the very back of the grid. We are ready to go racing. Can Ollie O'Donovan score victory? Engine notes rise, lights go green. It's blast off. Look at Scott weaving his way through the traffic. Straight away, he's on his toes. Down towards Clairvaux, and Steve Mundy again has trouble getting off the line as O'Donovan runs wide out of Clairvaux, but he keeps Mark Higgins at bay. Through they turn now, making the run up towards the right, left, into the chicane here. Onto the loose they come. Ollie O'Donovan leading the pack. O'Donovan looking for a first win of the season. Mark Higgins second, and Andy Scott, the team patron, around the outside of him. The Albatech boss goes wide, goes deep, and goes off the road as well. Andy Scott getting back onto the road, but time lost there. The Scallop fisherman, Andy Scott, blasts back onto tarmac, down towards Clairvaux. He's raced in the British Championship, he's raced in Europe, and Mark Higgins, still learning about Rallycross, has got more experienced people all around him, but it's been a very impressive start to his Rallycross career with that win last time out at Lyndon. On board with Scott through the chicane here. They make their way over the loose section of circuit, and Higgins on this lap is coming back at the race leader. This is his view. That's Ollie O'Donovan just up the road ahead of him. The Ford Focus drifts a little bit wide, but O'Donovan is back on the power and he drags it out of the other side of the corner. The 2007 British champion Ollie O'Donovan. He's raced in the British and European Championships, 6th last year, down towards Clairvaux. Higgins chasing on behind him. Keep the power up, keep up the momentum, throw it into the corner. Steer the car on the throttle, and then all the way around Hawthorne, back towards tarmac. Out of the chicane, through the loose. O'Donovan it is, just able to fend off Higgins, but you'll see the two cars have strengths at different parts of the circuit. Ollie O'Donovan, the London-based Irishman, leading the way, and Andy Scott closing as Higgins closes right up onto the back of O'Donovan's, fishtailing forward ahead of him. Higgins sitting in the dust now. Back on the power, over the timing line they come once again. There's Mad Mark going deep into the hairpin. So Ollie O'Donovan it is. There, Andy Scott. The reason, incidentally, he was at the back of the grid was because he had triggered a false start. So what you're seeing is actually the 3rd attempt at running the final. And because Andy Scott was the guilty party, he was put to the back of the grid. So had it not been for that, he could be the man up front, leaving everybody else in his wake. As it is, he's trying to fight his way up from 3rd place. O'Donovan completely sideways ahead of Higgins, who can't really squeeze up the inside of him there. The dust settles as they power their way towards the line once again. O'Donovan, though, is looking oh so strong. Higgins chases on behind. Mark Higgins' car, run by the National Centre for Motorsport Engineering up in Bolton. 3 times a British Rally champion, Mark Higgins. Mad Mark, multiple Rallycross Open champion in years gone by. And the lead battle is still well and truly joined because O'Donovan is under attack from Higgins once again. Fastest part of the circuit, this on the loose. Higgins to the outside line. He's going to run out of road though. Can he go all the way around the outside? Both of them on the limit, down to the tarmac. O'Donovan flicks the tail of the car out as a deterrent. Scott up the curve on the inside. Higgins is throwing everything at this to try to get past O'Donovan, but he just can't quite do it as they start the last lap now. Down towards the right at Clairvaux once again. Through they turn. Ride the curb. The three leaders still somewhat elasticated. The gaps come down at certain points and stretch at others. This is Andy Scott's rather limited view now. It's hot work inside the car on a very hot day. Higgins bouncing his way across the loose, and now they dive down towards the last corner. It's now or never. Is there a gap on the inside? No. O'Donovan in the venerable Ford Focus positions the car, gets a tap in the tail, but he's going to come out ahead, or is he? He's wide. He's just got the momentum to drag the car from the grass to the lead. Contact on the line. They hit again. Broken suspension for O'Donovan. Airborne was Higgins, but O'Donovan will be the winner. He went first over the timing beam, and so he wins despite a badly broken car at the very end. It has been a day of damage, a day of drama at Croft, none more so than that way of winning the final for Ollie O'Donovan. Mad Mark will come home without quite the same dramas in his race, but without the same pace either, disappointingly. He was much more confident at the start of the day, but the Citroën has struggled, but he will at least get to the end, and he will get points, and it's been good to see him in the final for the first time for a while. So Mad Mark makes it home. Let's look at the results. Ollie O'Donovan, the winner by 61 thousandths of a second from Mark Higgins. Andy Scott third, Mad Mark the other finisher.
Ollie, a fantastic start in the final, led from start to finish, but really close with Mark at the end, and you crossed the finish line with 3 wheels.
We were lucky, I suppose. Our game plan, we came to try and bag points. Happy with the top 3, as I said to you earlier today. I mean, the podium would have been great, and we got there. Lucky to get there. Bit of an incident coming into the last corner. Mark running up the back, maybe a bit dusty or whatever, and took a wheel off the car, and I think we had about 100 metres to go. And we got there just by hundredths of a second, but hey-oh, still a win.
And a great result for your championship campaign, gets you right back in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, okay, it's a pity for Julian for his accident and all that. It'll put him back. He'll still get 6th place points, I hope. Puts us back in competition, and it also gives us the mental edge that we can be as good as the newer car.
Mark Higgins, not the easiest event for you here at Croft, but a 2nd place finish, almost victory right at the end, and the championship lead to go with it.
Yeah, no, it's been quite a tough weekend. We've been chasing a little bit of a problem. We got it sorted for the final, and had a great start in the first part of the 2 finals, and then it was obviously red flagged. We did try at the end, very, very close, but it's ended up good set of points for us for the championship moving forward, and it was good for the team as well. Andy did a great job. You know, as I say, he came around, woke me up a few times, and it really bodes well for going on to Silverstone for the World Round as well.
You were following your teammate Mark Higgins for the majority of the final. If it was someone else, could you have pushed a bit harder?
Yeah, I kind of tried to wake him up once, had a lunge down the side room coming into the corner, because I thought he was not really pushing hard enough, so I thought I'd get his attention on the fact that a little bit more speed could be carried into that corner. But the target was a 1-2, so we ended up with a 2-3, so you know, it bodes good for the championship with Mark getting a 2nd, and yeah, it's been great, and thanks to Croft for putting on a good event.
A substantial crash for Julian Godfrey after he made contact with you. Obviously you tried to get out of the way when you slowed with your issues.
Yeah, I'd slowed. My engine had died, so I was slowing, and I think Julian was already on the grass. I'm not sure, but he was on the left-hand side of me, and I was on the left-hand side of the track. All I know is his front wheel hit mine, and it launched him into a load of rolls.
And a credit to the quality of these supercars and the structural integrity of them that Julian was able to get out unharmed.
Yeah, it was a massive hit for him. It was a big hit. So yeah, very, very strong cars, and yeah, he's fine. That's good.
So what does all that do to the championship? The answer is that Mark Higgins leads now by 4 points. Julian Godfrey is just 2 ahead of Ollie O'Donovan. Steve Hill is 4. A day of drama at Croft. Expect more of the same next time out as we head to Pembrey.